just a moment to talk to our patients, our practice patients, about something that just for education value, it's very important. But years ago, when I went to medical school, we were taught that all the serotonin was made in the brain. That's 35 years ago. And we essentially give you medicine like Prozac, Celexa, what's called serotonergic agents to help raise the serotonin levels in your brain so you don't get depressed or feel as depressed, and treat the depression. These medicines are not good for you. There's a lot of side effects from them. Number one is that these medicines, many of them have a fluoride molecule in it, so you have to take iodide or else you get fatigue long term, some of these patients. Number two, most of these serotonergic agents make you gain weight. Oh my gosh, all right. Number three is that weight gain is hard to get rid of if you don't fill the serotonin tank up in the brain. And this is important. We have patients that take let's say the Prozac or some serotonergic agent, and they essentially, what'll happen is they'll gain weight with it. Now, I tell my patients, I don't care if you gain weight with the serotonergic agent. That's not an issue. Here's the important part. If you fill a serotonin tank in the brain up so that there's no more serotonin deficiency, once you stop that medicine, the weight will drop. I tell patients it drops like a stone. It will come off very easy and quickly and fastly. If you do not fill that serotonin tank up, all right, it is like very difficult to lose that weight, all right? It's not impossible, but just very, very difficult. So the important thing is if you start on these medications, they have to be taken the right way, and they have to be prescribed the right way. We usually have these patients come back every 6 weeks to monitor what we're doing. The second issue that's important, we often leave this till the patient is getting better because of compliance issues. The patients, when they're really depressed, don't want to do this. But I thought it would be good to sort of share it with everybody because it has a broader application for many, in fact, for all of our patients. But 35 years ago, went to medical school, serotonin's all made in the brain, all right? About 17, 18 years ago, it was published. Lo and behold, 80% of the serotonin was made in the brain, 20% peripherally. We didn't know where. And but about 7, 8 years ago, the studies came out. Make a long story short, 80% of the serotonin is actually made in our gut. It's called the gut biome. 20% is made in the brain. The latest studies, about a year ago, are suggesting that 90% is made in the gut. Only 10% is made in the brain. So, like I had a patient this morning, she's been on a serotonergic agent, Celexa, for years. Can't get off it. Every time she gets off, she crashes and burns, all right? And what we now know, these patients like this, their gut biome is screwed up. They can't make serotonin in their gut, so they are on Celexa or a serotonergic agent for life. And they'll never get better, and they get fatter and fatter and fatter and more depressed the longer they take it, kind of thing. And so it becomes very difficult with these patients. Now here's the key. To change your gut, it's called the gut biome, G-U-T-B-I-O-M-E. In fact, Google it sometime. It's amazing the stuff that's coming out. But I have to change your gut biome so that you will start making serotonin in your gut so that I can get you off these medicines. That's sort of a crass way to say it long term. That gut biome, what that means is there's a ratio of good to bad bacteria in your gut. The more, let's say you have 80% good, 20% bad, there's no real actual numbers. It's just a ratio idea. You can never have no bad bacteria, by the way. But let's say you have 80% good, 20% bad. You're normal, you're going to make lots of serotonin, who cares, all right? But let's say that the ratio gets to 50% good, 50% bad, you get too many bad bacteria. What happens is that what's called the gut biofilm, this a little film in the gut, gets screwed up by these bad bacteria. And the most common is the yeast Candida. Candida is a poster child, but it's not only Candida, it's a whole bunch of these yeasts and fungi and bacteria. But Candida is the poster child. Everybody talks about Candida. But what happens if you get too much of this Candida? It interferes that biofilm. And number one, you can't make serotonin properly, so you're stuck with being on Prozac forever or whatever. Number two, the second thing that happens that we now know, when that biofilm gets screwed up, it sets you up for what's called metabolic syndrome. It screws up with your insulin metabolism, and bottom line, you become a type 2 diabetic, all right? So it's one of the causes of type 2 diabetes. So in fact, if you're depressed and have depression issues, and you're type 2 diabetic, you have to change your gut biome with these dietary issues, all right? And it's not easy. It is very difficult. I tell patients it'll take 6 months to a year. It is very, very difficult. Now, once you succeed, it's like a new life for you. I mean, it's just amazing what will happen. But here's the issues. Number one is, let's say it's Canada that's the issue. The Canada only lives on sugars. In fact, if there's no sugars, it will die. What we now know is if the Candida doesn't get enough sugar, it sends a message, a stimulus to that cell in the cell wall of the gut to put out a hormone, ghrelin, into the bloodstream, which is the most powerful stimulator of saying, I need sugar right now or I'm going to die. In fact, these patients will often have sugar cravings if they stop eating enough sugars, all right? I gotta have a chocolate bar right now, or I have to have this, or whatever, all right? Cup of coffee with 3 things of sugar in it, kind of thing. I saw a person the other day in the coffee shop. They put 8 things of sugar in a cup of coffee. I mean, just, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This person probably has a Candida issue, all right, and that's why they're doing it. And I'm sure that has no clue why he's doing that kind of thing. But so you have to change your gut biome, that ratio of good to bad bacteria. You know, and the poster child, as I say, is Candida. It's not only Candida, it's a whole bunch of bacteria and yeast. Here's what we tell the other patients. There are all sorts of ways of doing this, but here are the basic principles. Number 1, no sugars. You got to stop all sugars, no matter how hard it is, no matter what. You can use a little bit of honey is okay. No sugar substitutes. Number 2, no artificial sugars. Number 3, no high fructose corn syrup. It's in everything, by the way, all right? Number 4, no artificial sweeteners. Number 5, no sodas. Number 6, no deli meats, because a lot of the nitrates and things like that help to screw up that gut biome. And more of what we call a paleo diet, P-A-L-E-O, paleo diet. And that's the simple word for saying it is, number 1, you need to have more meats, fruits, and vegetables. Not fruit juices, by the way, stay away from those. The next issue is you need to take a very good probiotic, all right, 3 times a day for about 4 months. Anywhere from 1 time a day to 3 times a day, depending how bad I think it is. We always want you to buy the probiotic from us because there's very little relationship out in the community between what's a good probiotic and price. It's very difficult for you to know. So we ask you to buy it from us. It's very expensive, by the way. But that way, if it didn't work, I know it wasn't the probiotic that was the issue. You need to take it about 4 months, and it's very important. The next thing we want our patients to do is we want them to eat less grains and pastas. All right, because the grains, many of them break down into sugars that screw up that gut biome. The last thing is that fermented foods are very good for the gut biome. Sauerkraut is good, kombucha is good. We used to recommend yogurt. Those newest studies, we no longer recommend yogurt unless it's plain yogurt. Any yogurt with any additives or anything in it, the studies show makes it worse. Nobody wants to eat plain yogurt because it doesn't taste very good. The last thing that's a simple way of helping, it's not a fun thing to do, but it actually is quite amazing what it does. But we tell people to buy some apple cider vinegar. It's about, I don't know, $7 for a little bottle of Bragg's apple cider vinegar. And you take 1 tablespoon in a cup of warm water as a tea twice a day for about 6 months. That helps also for that gut biome. It's simple and cheap and safe, and there's very little downside to it, but it tastes terrible. But that's also good. But after you've done that for 6 months to a year, amazing things will happen, and your gut biome will start making serotonin. You will start changing your system so you no longer are susceptible as much to type 2 diabetes, and amazing things happen. Is it easy? No, it's very, very difficult. But is it worth it? Oh my gosh. Once you do it and go through it, it is like a new world on the other side. Thank you for belonging to the practice.